Letting people go or sacking people is pretty rubbish as a business owner. It can make you feel terrible inside. It does for me anyway. And today I want to talk about actually the latest time I've had to let somebody go, the reasons behind that decision, and how actually I feel pretty good about it, even after the fact of literally it was just 2 minutes ago that I did it. I thought I'd record this episode while it's on my mind, I'm in the moment, so I can share what I'm feeling right now, how this has changed dramatically from previous times that I've had to let people go, and what I feel going forward this has taught me about hiring and firing.
So the question is this: how do entrepreneurs like us, who don't have an endless supply of cash, how do we leverage the best apps, virtual assistants, automation tools and systems to scale our businesses, increase our profits and have more time to do what we love to do each day? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. My name's Dr. Steve Day and this is Systemize Your Success.
Okay, so today I had to make the decision to let somebody go. Now, I've done this at, I think, the right time. That is literally at the end of their short probationary period at the beginning of their employment. Doing this with confidence, going into this decision, thinking, being very clear on why I hired this person and what the requirements were for this role, and then comparing those very strictly against the person's skills and their abilities and what they've managed to achieve in their probationary period. I did it with that objective mindset, that objective framing. And that allowed me to detach from the fact that I really liked working with this person, that I enjoyed their energy, I enjoyed their enthusiasm, that I actually really got on with them and it was such an easy person to work with. And in those cases in the past, sometimes I've let that sort of cloud my judgment about whether I should keep somebody on, because it's nice not to have to sack somebody. It's especially when you're hiring people from places like the Philippines, when often them getting a job is a huge difference to their whole family's lifestyle. So taking that away is the opposite. That it can actually really be a negative on their lifestyle, and so it's always that tough decision. But over the years I've learned that hanging on to people just because you like them isn't a good recipe for running a business. And what happens is it eventually just starts eroding away at you. Well, this is my experience, that it erodes away at me as a leader. And I know the decision I've made was not the one with the business's best interests at heart. And if I'd only made that decision earlier, then I wouldn't be so emotionally involved in the whole process. And then it becomes more of a moral issue, whereas it should have just been a business decision. And so the take home from this for me is about, the old adage is hire slow, fire fast. And that's exactly what I think is the lesson for me in this case. I did in this case hire pretty slow. We've been looking for someone for this role for a while. I thought I'd find somebody really good. I did have my doubts because of their level of experience in this particular type of role. This was quite a technical systems oriented role, talking about automation, AI, doing prompt engineering, combining those three things together into building AI agents. So it's quite a technical role. But this person was so enthusiastic about systems, about technology, about automation, about apps in general. I thought they would just jump on it and grab it. And, they did to some extent, but not to the level that I need at this moment, because I need someone who I can throw stuff at, they get on with it, build it, and then give it me back. That's what I need for this particular role. Had I been in the position, or what were I in the position to have an apprentice for this role that I was going to train up and bring up to speed, she would have been a great candidate. But actually, that's not what I hired her for. Right now, we have a need for someone to literally replace me in the business, not be trained by me, because it sort of defeats the object if I'm the one then training them, because the whole idea is I want to move some of these high value or very technical tasks off my shoulders and onto somebody else. And that is the role specifically that I'm hiring for in this case. So let me just break down, if it would be useful, of how I approach this. And so the first thing I did was actually prepare for this meeting. And it may sound an obvious thing to do, but in some cases I haven't. I've been sort of so emotionally worried about the whole thing. I've sort of just gone along and just, it's sort of come out halfway through a conversation or sentence, or, in the middle of a meeting, for example, it's like, I've got something I've got to say. Halfway through doing a normal one-to-one, and then sort of throw in this bombshell, and it sort of just completely just messes up the whole feeling or the whole experience, I think, for both parties. Whereas in this case, I prepared and I literally turned on my camera. We're a remote only business, so everything is done on Zoom. I turned on my camera And I started, obviously, just saying hello, just niceties in the very beginning. And then I said, quite simply, today's the end of your official probationary period, and I regret to say it that I've decided not to renew your contract. And that's how I opened it. So there was no smoke and mirrors, there was no beating around the bush, there was no big apology, there was nothing. It was just stating the fact really nicely, politely, but factually. The end of your probation period is today. That's the reason we're having this conversation. So I'll frame why this is happening today. It's not because of anything she's done or not done, like dramatically. And then state very clearly what the decision is. And then just threw in there, because I thought it would be nice in case it's in the back of her mind so she can stop worrying about it. I said, you'll be paid for any work you've done to date. So just submit your timesheet as usual and you will be paid, or your invoice as usual and you'll be paid. And then I went straight into the decisions, which were very objective, exactly what I described before. I said, for this role, I need someone who is of a certain level of expertise, who doesn't require hand-holding and isn't in that mode of sort of training up of how to do this stuff. I need somebody who comes with that knowledge and experience so I can just delegate to. So exactly what I just said before. I literally just said that to her using pretty much those words. Obviously trying to do it in a nice tone and friendly and keep smiling, so it's not like a traumatic experience for anything. I'm being just human about it, basically. And then I simply opened the floor to questions. I said, I actually also mentioned, that I genuinely enjoyed working with her. And I also said, actually, which I felt was a really good thing to say, if it's appropriate, obviously. But in this case, it was not a people issue. It was a position issue. If you ever read Traction by Gino Wickman, he talks about people in positions, or people in roles, I think it is. People in seats, maybe. The right person, the wrong seat. That's how he describes it. And in this case, it was the right person, great values, great energy, great enthusiasm, honest, dependable, got work done. All those things were tick, tick, yes, 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 yes. But it was the wrong seat for her. If I had a different position for it open in the company that I needed somebody else to come in, I would have moved her into a different role, because I believe she is a brilliant employee for somebody who either she leans into the skill she's already got, or that she is in a training position to skill up. And so this was the debate with me when I was actually thinking about this, is do I train her up or not? And I was like, no, I've got to go back to basics. Why did I hire this person? Why do I need this role right now? And so therefore the objective Steve came back in and the decision was made. So I made it very clear. State the reasons why, for me, that actually this isn't a people issue. And I even said that actually, if she skills herself up and she wants to apply again to work with me and the position's open, she would be welcome with open arms. And that is genuine. So I said it. I wouldn't say it if it wasn't genuine, but in this case it was. And then I just opened the floor to questions and I said, do you have any questions at all? And the first thing she said was, thank you for telling me so clearly, and I can't remember the exact words she used actually, but thank you for telling me so clearly and explaining it in the way you have. And she just thanked me for the opportunity and the training she's had so far. And she said, I've got no other questions at all. And then I just basically finished by recapping any admin that needs to be done. So I said, please do submit your invoice. I'll ask you to provide evidence that you've deleted or handed over access to a couple of accounts, and that'll be it. Then we'll release your final pay, and that's it. And I said, I wish you all the best. So that was my experience of letting somebody go, but leaving that meeting actually feeling quite positive. I've freed up some time now again, because I was actually spending time training her and actually supporting her in this role. So I've now got time back, which is a positive. Yep. I'm not filled that position yet, so I've got to go back into the whole recruitment thing again. But luckily, that's something that I'm relatively familiar with, and I've actually just built an entire automated AI-driven recruitment system. So it shouldn't be a big deal to actually get some more candidates in to actually try and fill this role with someone who is at the right level of expertise. And now I've got those lessons that I've learned of taking somebody in. I've realised actually I need that level of expertise. Whereas before, I wasn't 100% sure. I thought maybe she would just pick it up enough as we go along. And I realized actually what I'm asking people to do is pretty damn technical. And this is stuff that I spent years getting to be an expert at. And so expecting somebody to pick it up in a matter of weeks is actually not really practical. and need somebody who knows what they're doing. And so I've learned a lot from this experience. I learned a lot from this experience of actually the way I approached this whole dismissal process. So do it quick, do it fairly, do it concisely. Don't drag it out and, just hang on for a few weeks hoping for the best. It's like, make the decision. That's what probationary period should be for. I haven't always honoured that in the past, and it's come back to bite me emotionally, and then ending up being much more of a issue when you do let somebody go. Because, if someone's worked with you for 6 months or 12 months and you've always known in the back of your mind they're not the right person, it's far, far harder to let them go. Whereas if it's the first 2, 4, whatever weeks or the probationary period, it's much more transactional. And therefore the emotion doesn't need to be in it. And it's not such a big hit to that person because they're not totally, they've not been reliant on your income for months and months and months and suddenly taking it away. It's, a new opportunity for them. And then hopefully they can go and take that energy and look for another job. So that's it. I hope you found that helpful, insightful. If you have, I'd love to hear your comments on how you approach this. If you do things differently, or if you've got any tips for me to making my life better in the future, then I'm happy to take them. But if you found this useful equally, I'd love to hear. So please do comment on whatever medium you're listening to this on right now. If it's on a podcast, you could leave us a review and just mention this particular podcast so we can pick them up that way. If not, reach out to me come to our website, systemsandoutsourcing.com, and on there you can click a button to book a call with me, chat about your business and how we can help, or just ping me an email, steve@systemsandoutsourcing.com, and I'll be happy to have a chat and just explore this further with you. So thank you very much. If you found this useful, there's a good chance other people will as well. So please do share this widely with anyone who you think might benefit from hearing this about how I approach the dismissal process in my business. Thanks so much. Your time is super valuable, and I really appreciate you chose to spend it with me today. Take care.